Hey there everyone, Lord Frigid here with another episode of Ether Raids gameplay. This gameplay is from the recently completed Light Season. I know I haven't done a Light Season video in quite some time. The season is still pretty dominated by the Caeda raiding party, I will say. This week I did get one match of Glimmer Gang at the very end of the season, so I do apologize if you think that makes the thumbnail for this video misleading. That's where you'll find the match if that's what you came here for. But yeah, I've been wanting to use that as a thumbnail for quite some time, and I just never really got the opportunity because I kind of stopped using Glimmer Gang. Once the Caeda team became a gazillion times more viable after Note happened and Uller happened and Caeda Sea Blossom pair happened. So yeah, this is Caeda team against a formerly Space Oppression setup with a level 1 defense fortress. I didn't even notice the defense for it was level 1 until turn 2, which is when I had Caeda reposition her flying self straight up towards Note, and then as I was having Caeda canto away, I was like, wait, she's not supposed to have 80 attack, right? So yeah, that was interesting. The sad part is it's actually a reasonably threatening map with a fully leveled defense fortress. So that was a match. Here up next we have map number 2. Map number 2 is a box-ish setup, I guess I'll call it. And it started off as me just kind of picking enemies off from over the walls with Uller. And eventually what I ended up finding was that it was kind of annoying to have to play around that forest tile in the middle. So I ended up breaking the structures on the left-hand side and taking down the enemies as they approached me. Just made things a little easier than having to snap them from over those walls. I actually tried to get Eitri to move over to the left here, but Edelgard was prioritized for movement, so that didn't really work out. And that's when I decided, all right, it's time to break these structures. I really don't want to get timed out here. That would kind of suck. I think really the only thing worth being cautious of at this point is the fact that the Note has no assist and the other enemies do have assists. So she does move before them, which allows her, in this case particularly on this turn, to provide Byleth um, with the Pathfinder movement bonus, I guess I'll call it. So I was just needed to be wary of that, and pretty simple cleanup as long as I made sure I didn't get caught in that trap. Match number 3 is a a box setup, or as close as you can get to a box setup without being a box setup. You may notice that the enemies have the ranged units, I guess, have kind of a what I call a checkerboard formation. This is most obvious in Camilla and Yoon, which makes it pretty easy to execute a trap on them by just sitting yourself in front of the 2 range units, and then the rest of the enemies just cannot move. So obviously here, uh, Camilla and Hel are trapped behind Caeda, and Aversa is trapped behind, well, other Caeda. I probably should start being a little more specific. Maybe list off I think they're called monikers in the official game terms. Could be wrong. But yeah, pretty easy ending here. Just had Caeda take out Hel on the enemy face, and that's a wrap. Match number 4 saw the Caeda team matched up against probably probably the first threatening map of this season, just because Medius is annoying. Partially because of Canto control, but mostly because he's just really hard to take down in one round of combat. And if you can't do that, this team has a pretty hard time. Fortunately, the Eldigan does have his courtly candle, which allows Caeda Sea Blossom pair to take him down in 2 hits instead of 1. Without the courtly candle, effective damage from Dolphin Dive Axe would just make her one-shot him. and that also allows her to apply Panic, which lets Ullr KO Medius. Unfortunately, it also stops Note from dealing over half health to Caeda, which kind of messed up my my Wings of Mercy scheme. It probably didn't help that I went for a relatively difficult trap. I say relatively just because it's easier to trap the Volk than it is to trap the Thor. It's easier to trap the Volk because KOing the Thor deactivates the duo's hindrance structure on this map. So, I just had to play a little bit around the fact that Caeda Sea Blossom pair was in Wings of Mercy range, and Caeda Talus's Heart was not a super difficult thing to do, just something that made the things a little bit more annoying. Match number 5 is absolutely the easiest one of the bunch. For some reason, it's just Alphonse, Serena, and Anna. Not really sure why that is, especially so late in the season. I usually do a match per day, for those of you who are wondering, except on Sunday where I do two. So yeah, it was weird. This is a map that exists, and tad unfortunate that I ran into it, but oh well, we'll take that. Match number 6 is honestly not much better. It's pretty easy to get a Gale Force strategy going here for the Caeda team. Actually, I just sent them in and kind of winged it. Usually, I go through a relatively meticulous planning process before each match to make sure I have all of my actions through the first enemy phase of AI aggression plotted out. This time, you can see I'm just kind of checking matchups in the middle of the game. I really just said, okay, Caeda can probably trap the Bramamond and call that good, or do a hit and run strike of some flavor. And I just kind of rolled with it. Fortunately, I was able to get that trap on the Bramamond, just between the Fountain, Azura, and Caeda. So pretty easy cleanup on the second turn. Match number 6. What is this? This style of map. You may have seen this style of map. I've seen it a few times before, where it's this terrain. I forget what this terrain is called. Lost Castle, maybe? And there is a near and far save armor in exactly those two positions. Sometimes it's the near save on the left, sometimes the near save is on the right. This is a case of near save on the right. The fortress, I believe, was also underleveled in this match, except only by 1. It was level 5, but there was no bolt tower. So not quite as bad as just being straight up level 1 with the bolt tower. The weakness of maps like this, I think, are that they're pretty easy to approach. So especially if you're somebody who uses Harmonic Catria on your offense squads, you can get some pretty easy initiations going here. I actually thought that I had calculated the Caeda Sea Blossom pair versus Rhea matchup and found that Caeda could get the KO. That unfortunately was not the case. I did something wrong in my calculations there, so I had to change up my strategy a bit. I did end up taking down the duo's hindrance structure just to get that out of the way so it wouldn't bug me in case I needed it. I didn't end up needing it, but it was nice to have that option. Ullr was able to take out the Dogger and Katria. In case you're wondering why I chose those two particularly, they are the wild cards in terms of enemy positioning. They provide some movement bonuses that I would really rather not have to deal with, so I just took them out. And fortunately, I was able to and get everybody to safety. So at this point, it's really just cleanup. Caeda Sea Blossom pair is in position to grab that final ether structure after a smite from Freya, and then any combination of Caeda, Ullr, and Azura are able to take out the Thor. The 8th and final match is the Glimmer Gang game that you were all promised by the thumbnail. I actually would have deployed the Caeda team if I could, but I did find that Ullr was not able to one-round KO the Hector without a bit of chip damage, and the Caeda team just cannot apply that chip damage. Whereas this team has Cecilia, who can triangle adept her way to not dying. I did actually forget that Hardy Fighter neutralizes guaranteed follow-up attacks. The Hector is running a Hardy Fighter Sacred Cowl. And I was very curious, very mystified rather, as to why Cecilia was not able to land land 2 shots on the Hector. As a result, I was not able to KO the Triandra as well, so that was a tad unfortunate, but nothing a quick adjustment couldn't fix. Just needed to get Milla in range to isolate the Triandra to prevent enemy counterattacks on that turn 3. Nothing else really noteworthy here, except for maybe that Lysithea can actually one-shot the Marth with Glimmer. I wasn't really expecting that. It's, I just generally don't expect Legendary Marth to go down all that quickly. So that was a pretty pleasant surprise. And then to clean things up, Note fortunately does not prevent guaranteed follow-up effects. So Cecilia was able to finish her off with Lancebreaker. And that is it. I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Ether Raids. I am actually rather curious about what you think of the sped up footage business. I started that with the Chaos Season video that I did a while back. I don't remember exactly how long ago it was. Last time Chaos Season happened, I guess. And yeah, I was just wondering, do you think it's too rushed now? Is it about right? I know that I did find that with normal speed, I would run out of things to say before the footage was actually over quite frequently. So that's why I decided to try speeding things up. I think this is 2 times speed, so maybe 1.5 would be better. I don't know. But yeah, I do plan on doing another one of these for the current Chaos Season, so do look out for that. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.